and can
We are
post it.
recording now.
Excellent, thank you. So good afternoon, everybody. My name is Katie Holcomb. I'm one of the librarians here at CCRI, and I'm going to be showing you, kind of going over a lot of information today. It's going to be a big information dump. But if you have questions at any time, you can post those in the chat. Because this is virtual, it is a little bit more difficult for me to kind of stop and ask for questions as I go along. But I will try to do that. But like I said, if you have any questions that come up throughout my presentation, please feel free to enter those into the chat. And I'll be sure to take a few minutes at the end to go through any questions that have been posted and answer those. So I'm going to be giving you information today that is specifically about the library and how you will find the sources that you need for this group research project that you're working on. Your professor has provided me with a copy of the assignment and a list of the topics that y'all have selected. So I'll be using those as examples throughout my presentation. Now I'm going to start sharing my screen with you all. So actually, okay, yes. So now you should see the CCRI homepage. And I like to start here because a lot of times students don't necessarily know how to find the library website from CCRI. I've seen students who just automatically, when they go to CCRI, they log into my CCRI and that's where they think everything is. But getting to the library is actually really simple. If you hover your mouse over the Programs and Courses tab at the top of the page, the library is listed under the resources. So you can just click on our link provided there, and it will take you straight to the library homepage. Now, the first part of my presentation is going to be about some general library information, specifically how you can get in touch with us if you have any questions when you're working on your research. You can come in and see us in person. The library is typically open from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. Monday through Thursday, and 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. on Fridays, and then 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. on Saturdays. Our hours do vary a little bit depending on the campus that you might be interested in visiting. So to see the hours when we're open or available for any of the 4 campuses, you can select the library hours link that's located here on our homepage. And this will take you to our weekly schedule for each of the 4 campuses, and it will also show you our online availability. During all hours, the library is open. As long as there is a library open on at least one of the campuses, then someone should be online and able to help you virtually as well. So that's where you can see our hours. I'm going to go back to the library homepage now. In addition to coming in and seeing us in person, like I mentioned, you can connect with us virtually, and there are a few ways that you can do that. So here on the library homepage, we have this Help and Chat tab and this pop-up message box for asking if you need help. You can chat with a librarian. So you could either select Chat Now in this pop-up window, or if you select the Help and Chat tab, this option brings you to a list of our frequently asked questions. So we do have a few highlighted featured answers here, but you could also select the All FAQ tab here at the end to see the full list of FAQs, and you might see whatever question you have already answered here previously. It is a pretty long list, so you may not want to take the time looking through every question that has been asked, or you may not want, or you may not see, rather, the question that you have already answered there. So then you could come over here to our chat box. And this, like I said, is available as that pop-up window on our homepage as well. And you can use this to connect with a librarian here at CCRI. So you would just enter your name in the first box where it says name. We do encourage students to enter some contact information, so whether that is an email address or a phone number. That way, if the chat gets disconnected, or if you have to run to class or to work, or something comes up and you have to leave quickly, we would be able to get back in touch with you and make sure that we've answered whatever question that you have fully. And then in the third box, you would type in whatever question you have. I'm going to let my colleagues know that this is just a demonstration for class, but I do want to show you how quick and easy it is to connect with librarians here at CCRI. So once you've entered your question, you would just click Start Chat. And usually within a few seconds, a librarian connects to that chat box. So we can see that Lisa Penta has joined the chat. She's one of the librarians here at the Warwick campus with me. So you would use this just to chat back and forth. So we would see your question. We might say, 1 moment, please, while I get you the help that you need. And this is a great option if you feel like whatever question you have could be answered fairly easily with a few back and forth messages. Sometimes it does develop into more in-depth questions. There have been times where I've spent over an hour with students on chat before, and that's perfectly okay too. So that's our demonstration of the chat widget that we have available. This is available during the hours the library is open. It is staffed by real people, real librarians that work here at CCRI. So you can be assured that when you're connecting on our chat, you're not going to be talking to a bot, and you're not going to be talking to someone who works in a different state or a different area. All of the CCRI librarians are very familiar with the resources that we have available. And quite often they're even familiar with specific assignments that students are working on. So that's a really good way to get knowledgeable, direct help for any questions that you have. Another way that you can connect with us, and I'm going to scroll down towards the bottom of the page, we have this text to librarian phone number. So you can send us a text message to the phone number listed here, and we will respond very similarly with how you just saw me connect with Lisa a moment ago. On our end, whether you connect versus in the chat widget versus the text message, it looks the same for us. Of course, when you're texting us, that would be on your phone rather than using a computer. Now, because this is a phone number that you can send a text message to, you can send us a message at any time, day or night. We only monitor the messages that come in during the hours that we're open. So if you are working on your project or assignment and it's after the library has already closed, instead of feeling like there's just no one available to help you, or that you just need to try and figure it out for yourself, or maybe try to remember the question for the next day, go ahead and send us that text message. As soon as we're online the next morning, someone will see your message and reply to you. So it's not that you're going to get immediate help at 2 o'clock in the morning, but it does kind of give you some reassurance that someone will see your question and get back to you with an answer, like I said, once we're back online the next day. So that's the second way that you can connect with us virtually. A third option is to schedule a one-on-one appointment with a librarian. And we call this our Book a Librarian service. So you could either select this icon here towards the center of the page, or if you scroll back up to the top and hover your mouse over the Research Help tab, we have a link to Book a Librarian there as well. So you can select either of those two options. Both will take you here to this page, where you will select the location for your appointment. So you can either select on-campus reference help, and it would tell you which librarians are available at what campus, or you could select virtual reference meeting online. When you select either option, it will bring you to a page that looks similar to this. We have our list of librarians that currently have appointments available. You can select a specific person, but it's not required. And in fact, leaving this first step selected for no preference will give you the most options for available days and times of appointments. So then you can move on to step 2, and we can see here that we have appointments available tomorrow through Friday, and then Monday through Friday next week. And then you could also move forward to March if you know that you're going to need to schedule an appointment, a little bit later on. But either way, you would just select whatever date you want to have that appointment take place. I'm going to select Thursday the 16th just for demonstration purposes. That refreshes the available times for appointments. So then you would just consider your schedule and select a time that works best for you. I'm going to select 10:30 just again for demonstration, and then you'll click continue. On this page, you'll see the appointment details provided. It gives you the name of the librarian that you'll be meeting with, the date and time of the appointment, and the location. So in this demonstration, I selected virtual reference to meet online. If you do select an in-person appointment, it would indicate here which campus you would need to go to for your appointment. On the other side of the page, there is a form that you need to complete. Some librarians ask for very basic information, just your first and last name and email address. But other librarians, like Jillian here, ask for some more details. It is in your best interest when you're setting up an appointment, if a librarian has asked for additional information, that you provide as many details as possible. This helps us prepare for the sessions in advance. And in Jillian's form here, she even provides a space where you can upload a copy of the assignment. Again, that's a great option to help us really understand what you're working on and what you might need help with. So once you've entered all of the information that is asked, you will click confirm appointment, and that will send you an email with the appointment details. If you are scheduling an appointment to take place online, that email will include the link that you will use to connect with us on Zoom at the day and time of your appointment. The librarian that you're making the appointment with will receive a similar email, but it contains all of your information. And this gives us the ability to reach out to you in advance of the appointment if we have any questions or need some additional information, or occasionally if we need to reschedule the appointment or transfer it to a different librarian. Sometimes, of course, people are out sick or may have a meeting that is scheduled at the last minute. So very rarely, but sometimes it does happen that we do have to either transfer that appointment to a different librarian or, like I said, reschedule it. Sometimes we're even able to get students the help that they need just emailing back and forth. And if that's the case, we would always check with you to make sure that we answered all of your questions and to see if you still wanted to have the meeting take place that you had originally scheduled. It would be up to you whether you would want to cancel that appointment or not based on how you're feeling. It could be that you have additional questions that you need answered and that you still want to have that appointment, or maybe you need some clarification about the information that we provided over email. So that's our appointment-based system. You do not need an appointment to get help from librarians. During the hours that the library is open, there are librarians available at the reference desk. So you could come into the library and get help on a walk-in basis from the librarian at the reference desk. So that is an option as well. Okay, so those are some of the basic library information that is good for you to know about as you're working on your research-based projects. Now I'm going to be getting into some more specific information that directly relates to this assignment and the topics that you're researching. So the first thing that I want you to, well, if we were in class in person, at this point I would have you start following along with me, but of course being online presents a little bit of an obstacle with that. So one of the first things that you want to do, I should say, is to select the Articles and Databases tab. This will open a new page that has the full list of databases that CCRI subscribes to. This is a pretty extensive list. You can see here at the top that we currently subscribe to 167 different databases. That is a lot of databases, and we don't expect you to use every single database during your time here as a CCRI student. And when you're working on your projects, you won't want to use every single database for each assignment that you're working on. Some databases are general and contain information on pretty much any topic you can think of, and others are more specific to subject areas. Before I get into specific databases, I do want to show you one other tool that is going to be very useful as you're finding your sources. And this is a citation management product. It's called Noodle Tools. And it's not a database, it doesn't contain information, but instead it helps you create your citations and then your reference page once you're ready to attach that to your project. We do have the link to Noodle Tools listed here in our popular databases box. And the reason that I'm starting with Noodle Tools is because it is a very good idea to save your citations for sources as you find those sources. You may decide later that you don't want to use a particular article or source that you find, and that's fine. That's perfectly acceptable. You can always delete those citations from your list as you narrow down what you actually want to use in your research. But just to give you a quick introduction to Noodle Tools, you'll find the link again here in the popular databases box. You'll select Noodle Tools from that link, and it brings you to the sign-in page. Now, it is very important for all of our databases and electronic resources that you use the links provided through the library website. This gets you connected to what CCRI subscribes to. So if you do a Google search for Noodle Tools, you'll certainly be able to find the website and access it, but it won't be connected to the paid subscription that CCRI has access to. So you want to go through our list and use the link for Noodle Tools provided. And then you do need to register or create an account with Noodle Tools before you begin using this resource. So if you have not used Noodle Tools before here at CCRI or at all, you'll want to select this Don't Have an Account Register button. Even though CCRI does use Microsoft 365 and you might have a personal Google account, do not use these links or icons that are listed here below. It will not work for our subscription. So you want to make sure, again, that you select this Don't Have an Account Register button. When you select that option, it will bring you to a form to fill out. So you just enter the information that it asks for, your expected graduation year, and it doesn't have to be exact. It can be, just what you anticipate it to be. For your personal ID, a lot of students will use either their CCRI username or their student ID number. You do have to check availability to make sure whatever you enter for your personal ID is available to use. And then you'll set up a password for this product. So whatever your password you want to use, a lot of students will use the same password that they use for logging into Blackboard or their email, just to help remember all those school-related accounts. Then the last 4 digits of your phone number, your initials, and your CCRI email address. Once you've entered all of that information, you will click the Register button, and that sets up your account. Once you have registered your account, you can log in. So just to show you what it looks like real fast, I'm logging into my account. And the first time you log in, this page is actually going to be blank. Now, I have demonstrated this product for many different classes, so you can see that I have quite an extensive list going here. But the first time that you're logging in and using Noodle Tools, you will not see any projects listed. You will need to select this Add New Project button, and you will give your project a title. It's a good idea to make it recognizable for the class that you are creating the project for and the specific project that you're working on. Sometimes in college, in different classes, you will have multiple research-based assignments for one particular class. So you, instead of just like how I've done my titles here for COM 2025 or HMNS 2060, you might need to be a little bit more specific than that, but it just kind of depends on how many research-based assignments you're going to have for that class, and you want to make sure that you give it a title that is easily recognizable to you and has meaning for the project that you're working on. So for this particular assignment, I might do rehab 1030 and then group project or something like that, or I might put in the topic that I was researching. Once you have your project title entered, then you want to select the citation style, and for this class you are using APA style citations, so you would select that option. And then for citation level, you want to make sure that you select the advanced option. This is a college level class, and you are expected to create citations that include all of the different facets to it, all of the different fields. So you need to make sure that the citation level that you select has all of the necessary requirements. So that's why we select the advanced option. And then you will click the Submit button, and then your project will appear at the top of your list. And then to start adding sources, you'll click on the title of your project, and this will bring you to a page where we can begin adding citations. Now I'm going to pause with Noodle Tools here for a moment. We will be coming back to it once I have some sample sources pulled up. I will show you how to add your sources into Noodle Tools. Okay, so I'm going to go back to my list of databases. Now, we have this full list of 167 different databases. And as I mentioned earlier, you're not expected to use all of these, but there are a couple of ways that you can help narrow this list down. The first option is to look in the popular databases box over here on the side. Here you will find some of the most commonly used databases by students here at CCRI. So for this particular class, you might start looking in Academic Search Complete, which is a general database and contains information on pretty much any topic that you can think of. Or you might select Health Reference Center Academic for more content that is directly related to the health professions. Another option to help you narrow down this list of databases is to select a specific subject area. So when I click on all subjects here at the top, I can see that there are options for allied health, dental health, general topics, health general. And if I scroll further down, then I can find the nursing databases. And there is a number next to each of these subject areas. That is the number of databases that are going to be listed when you select that option. So for our health-related subject areas, nursing is the subject area that actually contains the most databases. So that's going to be the option that I recommend you select when you're narrowing down to a subject area. So when I select nursing, that brings me to a list of just 20 databases that contain information on topics specifically related to nursing. And while this is a rehab class, the topics that you're researching, a lot of these, you'll find really good results in a few of these nursing databases. So the first database that I'm going to show you today is CCRI with full text. This is specifically a nursing and allied health database. The CCRI is an acronym for Cumulative Index to Nursing and Allied Health Literature. With each of our databases here, you can see a brief description about that database. To access the database, you'll just click on the name of the database in our list of databases, and that will bring you to the database homepage. Now, if you are off campus, before it brings you into the database, it will prompt you to enter your CCRI username and password. That's the same information that you use to log into Blackboard or to access your email. And that just verifies that you are an authorized user of this resource, that you are a current CCRI student, faculty, or staff. And so here, now that we're in our database homepage, there's a few things to pay attention to. So at the top, we have 3 search boxes where you can enter your search terms. And then below, we have some different selections that you can choose to add to help narrow down your search. You don't have to enter any of these search options to get started. You will have the ability to make these selections to narrow your results once you have a result set. So I always recommend to students just to start with 2, maybe 3 keywords to get a good set of results going, and then you can narrow down from there. I also recommend that you start sort of broad with your keywords and narrow down. If you start with something that is very, very specific and you use several keywords, then you may get very few results, or you might not get any results. And it might be difficult to then try to think more broadly when you've already started so narrow in your search. So if you start broad, you can then add additional terms and additional filters to narrow it down. So I'm going to start with a very basic search. I'm going to look for topics or results for the topic of cardiomyopathy. As I begin typing, you'll notice that there are some suggested searches that come up in our list. So I'm going to go ahead and select cardiomyopathy from the list of suggested searches. It's a good idea to do that because it helps ensure that you're not going to misspell any words. The databases contain a lot of really great information, but they're not the best at identifying misspelled words and what you might have meant to type in. So whereas Google, if you misspell something, it will come back with a message that says, did you mean, and have a full list of results based on that. But the database will not do that. It will quite often come back with a red message that says no results found. And if you don't realize that you misspelled a word, then that could be very frustrating, and you might think, well, there's just nothing in this database on my topic, and want to move on to something else. So I've entered my broad keyword here of cardiomyopathy, and I can click search. This will then bring me to a list of results on this topic. And we can see at the top here that we currently have over 4,400 results. So we definitely need to narrow this down. There's a couple of things that you can do to start. First, consider the requirements of your assignment. You know that you're required to use sources that were published within the last 7 years. So the first thing that we want to do is look at this publication date range. In our list of results, we currently have some items that date back to 1982. Which is well outside of that 7-year time frame. So we can change this first date to 2017, and the end date will stay at 2023. Press enter, and that will filter out any results that were published before 2017. So now we're down to 1,743. So making that one change, we already got rid of just under 4,000 results. Another option that you can select is the peer-reviewed option. And most of our databases do have this as an option to select. So you do need to have peer-reviewed sources for this assignment. So by selecting that peer-reviewed option, it's going to filter out any results that were not published in a peer-reviewed journal. For this topic, only about 100 results were filtered out, so now we're down to 1,624. That is still a pretty large number of results. It's a lot fewer than we started with, and it's certainly fewer than what you would find if you Googled cardiomyopathy, but that's still a lot to try to filter through and go through all 1,624 in an afternoon or something. So at this point, you would probably want to start adding some additional keywords. Because this is a rehab class, you could add rehab or rehabilitation or treatment or therapy as an additional keyword. So in our suggested searches here, we have just rehabilitation, and then we have rehabilitation or therapy or treatment. And then there's this option for rehabilitation or therapy or treatment or intervention. These are all synonyms for the same concept. When you're searching for keywords, you're not going to necessarily know the term that an author has used when they're writing on that topic. So one author might use rehabilitation as their keyword for this concept as they're writing the article. Another author might use therapy instead. They're all relevant to the subject area that you're looking for, the topic that you're looking for. It's just going to help the database bring back results that include any of these keywords. They're all relevant to the same concept and how they relate to cardiomyopathy. But again, you're not going to know how an author has written about that or what terms they have used. So this just helps the database bring back all relevant results. So I've added that into my second search box, and I can click search again, and that brings me down to 805 results. That's still a pretty large number. And one other thing that you can choose on the side, and I'm going to scroll down a bit, there's several different options that you can select. And one in particular that I want to point out is this language option. Okay, so usually there are several languages listed here because journal articles are written in many different languages, and you want to make sure that you're going to be able to read and use the content for the articles that you find. Of course, in our results set here, all of these articles are in English, so nothing is going to get filtered out. But that option might be useful if you are coming across articles that are published in a different language. Another keyword that you might consider using is something related to the region or area that you're interested in, or maybe an age range for patients. So if you wanted to know information specifically about elderly patients, we could add this option for elderly or aged or older or elder or geriatric in our third search box. So this is going to narrow it down even further to just results that are about cardiomyopathy, rehabilitation or therapy or treatment or intervention, and patients who are elderly, aged, older, or elder or geriatric. So now we're down to 173 results. This is a very good number of results. It might still sound like a lot, but when you consider that we started with over 4,400 results, this is very manageable. So at this point, when you have a list that's similar to this number, I would recommend that you go ahead and start looking through your results. So on this page, we have the title of the article here as a hyperlink in blue. Below that, we have some author information. This lists all of the authors who helped write this article. And then we have the name of the source where it was originally published. So this is going to be that journal or magazine where the article first appeared. And then the date, volume, issue, and page numbers. This is all of the citation information that you need. After that, we have the section that is called the abstract. And an abstract is just a summary of what the article is about. So sometimes you'll come across articles that are 20, 30, sometimes 100 pages long. And instead of reading through, even half of the article to determine, okay, this isn't really what I'm looking for, and this is not useful to the research that I'm trying to find, you can read through the abstract to help you make that decision about, is this article going to be worth my time diving into further? The abstract itself is not enough for you to use as a source. It's just to help you in your decision-making process decide if it's something that you want to access the full text for and dive into deeper. Under the abstract, we have a list of subject terms. I like to point these out because they can be very useful in helping you identify other ways of saying some of your keywords, or possibly additional keywords that more closely relate to the specific research that you're trying to find. So for example, in this list of subject terms, we have transportation of patients, ambulances, case studies, pediatric care, and then a bunch of different age ranges. So if I wanted to know specifically about transportation of patients, I could add that as an additional keyword. And of course, I'm misspelling it. Okay. And I can search again, and now I'm just down to this one article about that. Usually you'll have a few more. It will narrow it down very significantly, but usually you'll have more than just one result if you add additional keywords based on these subject terms. But that was just to show you how you might, again, narrow it down further. Okay, so I'm going to go back out to my bigger list here. And so I took away that transportation of patients keyword. Looking through further, sometimes you can tell based on the title alone about whether it's going to be relevant to your topic or not. Other times you do have to look into it further by reading the abstract or really diving into the article. Once you have identified an article that looks like it could be helpful for your research, you can click on the title of the article, and it will bring you to some more information about it. So on this page, this is what we call our detailed record. And again, this has a lot of the citation information that you need: the title, the authors, the source, so the journal title, where it was first published, volume, issue, and page numbers, And then we have our abstract and some subject area terms and more. Then over here on the side, we can see that this particular article is available in HTML format as well as PDF. If you keep scrolling down on this page, because this is available in HTML, you will see the full text listed here. Now, my personal preference is to access articles as a PDF whenever I possibly can. Sometimes articles are only going to be available in one format or the other. So sometimes you'll just see HTML, sometimes you'll just see PDF, and then others, like in the case of this article, have both formats. So again, anytime I can find a PDF article, that is what I prefer to use. In my opinion, I think the PDF view is a much easier version to read. I mean, the content is exactly the same, but the different sections of the article are more easily identifiable. It's also easier to download and save a copy of the article when you find one in a PDF format, and also to print the article out if you need to print your articles. So here's the full text, and this is exactly how the article looked when it was published in the print journal where it was initially published. It's just been digitized and made available online in our databases. So you can scroll through and see the full text. If you do need to print, you will use this icon that's here at the top of the PDF to print the article. The print icon here on the side will only print the detailed record when you don't have the HTML option available. So if you only have a PDF view, do not use this print icon on the side. Only use the print icon that's at the top of the PDF. You can also download the article using this download icon at the top of the PDF. I'm going to go back to the detailed record for a moment because there are a few other tools that are very helpful to know about. On the side over here, you'll see our list of tools. The email option is very handy. I use this all the time when I'm doing research. You can enter your email address. It does not have to be your CCRI email. It can be whatever email address you want to use, but you'll enter that in this email to field. And then on the other side, you can select citation format. And by selecting APA from the list of different citation formats, it will include the APA style citation for this article in the email that you're sending yourself. It also includes the full text. So the HTML full text will be in the body of the email, and the PDF will be as an attachment to that email. So it's very handy and a very easy way to start saving your sources. And then you can go back and review them in more detail when you have time later on. Once you've entered your email address and selected the citation format, you'll just click send, and that sends a copy to the email address that you entered. If you are choosing just to download the articles directly to your computer instead of email them to yourself, you can still get the citation. Or even if you are emailing articles and you forget to include the citation format, you can still get that. So there is a cite tool here on the side. So you'll just select the cite option and then scroll down to find the APA style citation. And then you can copy and paste this into either Noodle Tools or your reference list. Now I am going to take a moment here to show you how you can add this citation into your Noodle Tools account. So I have the citation here already displayed for me. And then I can go ahead and copy this. I'm doing Control-C on my keyboard. And then I go into my Noodle Tools account, and I'm going to add a new source using this new source button. When you select new source, it's going to ask you a couple of questions. So to create a new citation, where is the source that you found? Is it in a database, a website? Is it something that you have a physical copy of in your hands? Is it something that you saw or heard? Is it a file, app, or ebook, or is it something else? For the things that I'm showing you today, they're all going to come from databases. So we select database for our option. And then it asks, what is it? So what kind of source is this? So I can go back to my tab here that has this article pulled up. And scrolling down in our detailed record, I can see that this is an article. And for the source, I see that it's Biomed Research International. So I can interpret that to mean that this is from a journal. So I select journal as my type of source. And now we have this form to fill out. You can either choose to enter each section of the citation in manually, either copying and pasting directly from the citation or just typing it in. But if that's how you choose to do your citations, just keep in mind that Noodle Tools is only as good as the information that you put into it. So if you misspell something or put something in the wrong place in the citation, it's not going to fix that for you. So we also have this quick cite copy and paste a citation option. When you have a database or when you find an article in a database like CCRI that provides the citation for you, you can choose that quick cite option. So I've already done Control-C to copy my citation. So I'm going to click on this link. And we have this box here for manually edited citations. I'm going to do Control-V to paste it in. Before I save this, I do need to look through the citation to make sure that it is actually in MLA format. And I can already tell that there's one thing that I need to correct here. And that is all of these capital words, all of these capital letters. So for APA format, you use sentence casing, which means that everything other than the first word is in lowercase unless it is a proper noun. So we would have to go in and fix all of these uppercase letters to make sure they are lowercased before we save our citation. And it can be a little bit time consuming, but it's better and a lot easier than typing it all in manually or trying to create the citation from scratch. So just a few more. Okay, that's actually I'm going to do right now. It would take a little bit longer. But once you have fixed any issues with the citation, then you can click the Save button that's here at the top. And once you click Save, it adds that citation to your list. So here we can see the citation that was created. And again, you can see here that some of the words that I did not change the capitalization on, it looks how I left it. So it's not going to fix any of that for you. The citations that are provided in databases are generally very good places to start with your citations, but there can sometimes be minor errors, whether it's with capitalization, like we saw with this particular article, or the way the author names are listed. Sometimes it has the full first name, or it could have the first name, last name format instead of last name, comma, first initial. So there are minor things like that that you might have to fix. But the content that you need for the citation is there, and it's generally in the correct order. It's just making those minor adjustments as you go along. So that's how you can add a citation from your database for a source that you find into Noodle Tools. Okay, another tool, so I'm back here in my CCRI database and looking at this article. Another tool that sometimes students find very helpful is the permalink options. A lot of times students will try to save their sources using the URL that is at the top of the page. For our databases, that is not how you want to save your sources. The URL in your address bar is not a stable link. And that means that as soon as you close the tab that you're on or close the window that you're in, that link will no longer work. It is only active for that session for the time that you are viewing it. So instead, what you want to look for is the permalink option. Sometimes it's called a stable link. So you can select permalink, and that will open this smaller box here at the top with a stable URL. So this is what you would want to save if you are choosing to save your sources by web address. This link will get you back to this particular article. It will ask you to use your CCRI username and password to sign in if you are saving the permalink. Again, that just verifies that you are an authorized user. But that is the option that you would want to save if you are saving your sources by link to get back to later. Okay. So that fairly quickly is how you use CCRI to find sources on topics and to narrow down using the filters that are available. I'm going to go back to my list of databases. And another database that is going to be particularly useful for this class and the assignment that you're working on is Science Direct. So this database is a little bit more difficult to use. It doesn't have as many of the same tools and filters available, but it contains excellent information. And each database that we subscribe to has unique content. So articles that you find in CCRI may not be available in Science Direct and vice versa. So if we click on Science Direct, Nursing and Health Professions Journals, it brings us into this database. Again, if you're off campus, it will prompt you to enter your CCRI username and password before it brings you to this page. And we can see that this looks very different from the CCRI database we were just in. So we have some options for searching here at the top, either by keyword, author name, journal or book title, volume, issue, pages. Chances are you're not going to know any of these options except for the keywords. So that's where you want to start. And we can do a search for, let's look for Ehlers-Danlos syndrome. Okay, so I've entered my keyword. I press search or press enter, and it brings me to this list of results. Here on the side, we can see that we currently have over 12,000 results. So that's way more than we saw for cardiomyopathy in CCRI. And of course, we're looking at a different topic here. But if we did a search for cardiomyopathy, I think we would have even more than 12,000 results. So what you want to do to help narrow this down, you still want to look at the options here on the side. The very first thing, and this is very important, the first option that you want to select is the subscribed journals. If you do not select that option, you're going to see results that CCRI does not have access to. In CCRI, it automatically defaults to only show you only show you results that we have the full text access to. In some of our databases, like Science Direct, you have to specifically select that option so that you don't see results that you can't access. So now that we've selected subscribed journals, we're down to 5,374 results. Still a lot, but way better than 12,000. Another difference with this database is the publication year option. So you do actually have to select each year that you want to see results for. So I would need to go in and manually select for the last 7 years. And each time you select those, it changes the number of results that you see. And the number in parentheses after the date is how many results there are for that year. Scrolling down a bit further, article type is another option that you might want to select. Research articles would be one of my suggestions for selection under article type. For publication title, you're not going to know which journal an article is coming from, so you can generally leave that alone. Sometimes you can look through here and select, like if you know that you're specifically interested in emergency medicine, then you might select the Journal of Emergency Medicine. Or if you're focusing more on pediatric care, then you would select journals that indicate that they contain information about pediatrics, like Journal of Pediatrics and International Journal of Pediatric, whatever that word is, and Journal of Pediatric Surgery. So that is an option that you might select, but it's not something that you would necessarily need to select. For subject areas, this is something that you might choose, and I would recommend nursing and health professions. Now, depending on what content area you're kind of looking at a topic from, you might select something different there. But in general, I think you would probably be pretty good selecting nursing and health professions as your subject area. So by selecting those different options, we're now down to just 69 results. Again, that's a very good number to work with and far better than the 12,000 that we started with. So at this point, I would recommend that you begin looking through your results. Similar to CCRI, you have the title of the article here as a hyperlink. Another difference from CCRI is that you're not provided with nearly as much information in this result set, in this preview page, basically, as we saw in CCRI. So you kind of see some information. You can see the title of the journal where it was published, an author name, but on this page here, you don't have the abstract unless you select the abstract from the list of options here. Again, the abstract is a great tool to use to help you decide if the article you're looking at is actually related to the topic that you're researching and will contain information that you need for your research. Then to access the article, you can click on the title of it, and this will bring you to the article itself. So we do have the full text on this page. You can scroll down to read through the entire article, or at the very top, we do have this View PDF button. So like I mentioned earlier, anytime there's a PDF view, I am a happy camper. That is how I want to see my articles when at all possible. So then here you could, again, read through the full text, and you have the option to download and save it to your device or to print it out. I'm going to go back to our previous page where we had, it is still the full text, but it is specific to this article. You will see that there is a cite tool on this page and in this database, but it is not the same as the cite tool in CCRI and in most of our other databases. When you select cite here, it asks to either save it to RefWorks or export it to RIS, BibTeX, or text. Now, CCRI does not subscribe to RefWorks, RIS, or BibTeX. You might have a personal subscription to one of those resources, and that's fine. You could then save or export the citation to one of those tools. If you do not, then if you select the export citation to text option, it will download a text file to your computer. It should anyway. That has and I don't see it. Maybe it's in here. Okay, yeah. So over here, I have my recent downloads, this text file. When you open that text file, you'll see that this is not the citation. It is just the information that you need to create the citation for yourself. So that is one of the downsides to using ScienceDirect, is that it does not create the citations for you. You would then have to take this information and copy and paste it into Noodle Tools using that form that is available to ensure that everything is in the correct location. Or you would have to just build it yourself, in a Word document or something. It does give you all of the information that you need for your citations, but again, it does not create them for you. So you will take some effort on your part if you find articles in ScienceDirect for your research. I don't want that to discourage you from using this database. This ScienceDirect database, it has wonderful information in it. And again, you'll find sources in this database that you will not find in any other database. So it is an excellent one to use. It's just a little bit more difficult and time consuming for you as a user to, figure out all of the best keywords to use and using the filters available on the side to really narrow down your list of results. Another thing that this database does not have is an option to filter out anything that was published in a different language. So here we have our second result is in what looks like German rather than English. And if you click on it, the abstract is here in English, but looking through the full text article, it is all in German. So, there's not a great way to then get this into English for you to be able to actually use. So that could be another downfall to using this database. So just some points to be aware of as you are choosing databases to use and then, actually getting into the databases and finding sources. Okay. If I go back to my list of databases, I do want to show you real fast Academic Search Complete. I usually start all of my presentations off with Academic Search, but because this is a more specialized area, I wanted to do the subject-specific databases first. Academic Search Complete is produced or made available by the same company as CCRI, so it looks the same in a lot of ways that CCRI does. It's a very easy database to use. Again, it is not subject specific, so you will find many different subject areas in this database. But if we do a search for Parkinson's disease, and we can see here that there are many different ways that Parkinson's could be referred to. I'm just going to stick with Parkinson's disease for demonstration purposes, but you might choose one of those options that has multiple iterations of the same concept to get all relevant results. But just a quick to show you, even just for Parkinson's disease, we have over 22,000 results in this database. So even if though it's not specific to health professions, there's still a lot of content in this database that could be very useful. On the side, you have a lot of the same filters available, so we could select peer-reviewed. We definitely need to update our publication date range because here we have results that date back to 1965, so we would enter 2017 or 2016. And again, with each option that you select, your number of results goes down. And then we could select language, so English as our language, and that gives you that view that there are, because I selected English, it took all those off. Let me just redo that for a second. So here, because we do have so many results, you can see that there are many different languages represented in our result list. So we select English, that filters out anything that wasn't published in English. And then you would use it, you could add additional keywords to filter this down even further. But otherwise, it is used exactly the same as CCRI. So you just click on a title, you see more information about it, you access the full text with the links on the side, and you have access to the tools here as well. So for this project, those are going to be the 3 databases that I recommend you start with. You are not limited to only CCRI, Science Direct, and Academic Search Complete. Health Reference Center Academic could be another good database for you to use, as well as JAMA, the Journal of the American Medical Association. But each of these databases, for the most part, are going to look very different from each other, and they're used in slightly different ways. You always want to start with your good keywords, and then once you have a result set, use the options on your side that are provided to filter down and narrow your list of results. Okay, so I'm going to take a pause here and stop sharing my screen and see if we have any questions that have come in. Okay, so here's a good question. Can we use Noodle tools linked in a group project that we can all access? I don't think so. As far as I'm aware, each person would need to have their own Noodle tools account. But what I have heard of group projects doing is have either a Google Doc set up where you list all of the sources that you're looking at, or in your SharePoint, have a folder created for your group where you can share and add your articles there. That way you're not duplicating the work. And you could possibly have one student who is in charge of adding all of the citations into their Noodle Tools account, and then uploading it or exporting the citations to a Word document, so that you could then print that out and add to, or not print it out, but you could add that to the last page of your project. Good question, though. Any other questions?
Well, I love looking at that Noodle Tools. That's a new thing that I haven't seen before. So that's great. You ever come across when someone comes to you and says, I have this topic and I'm trying to find, exercises for this obscure diagnosis, but I can't find anything. How do you go about kind of expanding your search and get when someone comes to you and says, I can't find anything, how do you expand your search? You showed us a lot of ways to cut down the results.
Yeah. So one thing that I might do in that kind of situation is actually turn to Google first and Google exercises or therapies for this thing, and then find some specifics, and then go back into the database and search for that specific type of exercise or therapy that's used to find a list of results on it. Because that can be difficult. And it might be that if you're searching for a specific diagnosis and then have a specific therapy that is used, you might find very few or no articles about it. But if you just search for that exercise or therapy, then you'll often have a lot more results. And then you just tie it into how it might be used for the diagnosis.
Gotcha. And do you have an easy method? Let's say there is an article that, is outside of the date range on this project. There's something that was published in early 2000s, but it's like the article about the topic. That article is going to be cited by any new article that's written about it. Is there a way to search for articles that have cited a specific thing?
I'm not sure.
Okay.
I know that in some of the databases, it will tell you like how many articles have cited that particular article,
Yeah.
or how many citations that article has. But to see how many, I'm going to have to look into that,
Okay.
and I can get back to you about it.
Right.
But I'm not sure.
Gotcha.
What you're asking.
Yeah, I've seen this article has been cited 22 times by different articles, and I was just seeing like, oh, well, I'd like to read those 22 articles. They're talking about the same thing I want to talk about. So
right.
Is there any other questions from you guys?
Yeah, I did see another question in the chat, and I'm actually going to go back to Noodle Tools and share my screen again, because there were a couple of things that I forgot to show you with Noodle Tools. So, okay. Let me pull back up that specific. Are there other aspects of Noodle Tools for research, or is it mostly for citations? There are some other tools that you can use, some other things. So we have note cards available in Noodle Tools where you can add notes about each source. So you could type in, or you could do a new note card and then type in your notes about that source. And so that could be very useful, especially with a group project, to help you know or identify what you're going to speak about for each of the sources that you're finding, or where it fits into your outline for your project. So is this going to fit into paragraph 1, or is it in paragraph 3? Is this in your main point 2, subsection 3, that kind of thing. So that's what you could use note cards for. You can also add attachments. I've never added any attachments here, so I don't know really what purpose that might hold, unless it was to keep all of your full text articles in the same place as well. So there are a couple of other things. You also have this to-do list, so you could add items that you need to do for your project and then check them off as you complete them. Going back to your list of citations briefly, when you have a list going, and like I said at the beginning, it's a great idea to start just adding your sources as you're finding them. And then if you decide not to use a source, you can just remove it from your list of citations. And you can do that by selecting these three dots that are here on the side, and then select the delete option. It will ask you, are you sure that you want to delete the selected item? I don't actually want to delete this right now, so I'm going to select no, but it does kind of give you that stop and security of like double checking that you are deleting what you want to delete and not something that you actually want to use. Another really great thing that I love about Noodle Tools is it doesn't just like store your citations here. You can also export it to Word or Google. So you could export it to a Google Doc or to Word or to Word, online. Just for simplicity, I'm going to select Word to export this to. It's going to ask you if you want all the sources or just primary, secondary, or tertiary. Chances are you want all of your sources selected, so just or included, so just select submit. And then it will download to your device that you're working on a Word document, because that's what we selected. If you download it to your Google Docs, you do have to be logged into Google, and it will show up in your Google Docs account. When you export it, it formats the reference list the way that it should be for APA style citations. So you have references here at the top centered in the page, and then you have your citations, and they will show up in the order that you need them to, which should be alphabetical order. So that's not something that you would then have to go back and change the order on. The only thing that you might have to fix with this page is the page number, because it automatically puts in page number 1. And of course, for your reference list, that's not going to be the first page of your project. So you could either change the page number to be the last page and like to have it show the last page number in your document, or you could, instead just copy this, like your references and then the full list of citations, add a blank page at the end of the document that you've typed your paper up on, and then paste the reference list onto that blank page, so it automatically comes at the end of your project. So that's very helpful and like takes away so much stress of trying to figure out like, okay, what do my margins need to be? How much space needs to be between each line? What order do my citations need to be in? It does it all for you. It is so nice. It makes it so much easier. So I'm glad that I took a minute and that you reminded me to show you those few things in Noodle Tools. Okay, so we have another question. How can we search for videos for a specific topic? Good question. So we do have a couple of video databases. I'm going to go back to my list of A to Z databases here. Films on Demand is one of our subscription video services. So you could select Films on Demand and then search for the topic that you're researching. So I've entered Parkinson's disease, and this will show me our list of video results on that topic. Another video database that we have is called Canopy. This is a streaming video platform. So when you select Canopy, you do have to create an account for this. So in that regard, it's kind of similar to Noodle Tools. It is free for you to use. CCRI has a subscription to this database. But you do have to first set up an account, and you would want to select this don't have an account yet, get started. So find your university, because we're here at CCRI, and then we would choose Community College of Rhode Island. And here's that. So you select it, create your account to set it up. And then once you have set up your account, you can log in, and I'll show you my account. And then you could search using the search box here up at the top, and we could look for, let's see if there's anything on Ehlers-Danlos. Okay, so nothing about that in this particular database. Let's look for Parkinson's. Okay, so we do have results in here for Parkinson's disease. So that's how you could search specifically for video sources. Okay. Any other questions?
Well, thank you so much. I was telling my students today that I've taught this maybe 20 times, and especially asking someone from the library to come and teach us. And I'm shocked how I always learn something new. There's always another wrinkle that I can use to my searches. So I thank you so much for that. Um, my favorite stuff that we learned, and you showed us so much today. I know that I want the students to take this message home. Ask for help. You can access the librarian either with the chat box, the texting function, email, schedule a one-on-one, virtual or in person, drop-in hours, all different campuses, all different hours, including weekends. Oftentimes, I think, when we're stuck researching, especially when we're new researching something, the amount of time it would take the new person who's trying to find these articles, hours upon hours, it would take an experienced librarian 15 or 20 minutes. It's so much faster. So if you get stuck, don't cry yourself to sleep at 2 in the morning because you couldn't find the article. Reach out for help, especially from a librarian. They are your shortcut to success. So I love just how many different ways we can access librarians through CCRI. It's pretty incredible.
Yeah, absolutely. And I can't agree with you more. That's always the last thing that I leave on is, just a recap. Please contact the library if you have questions. I have presented a lot of information today, and chances are you're not going to remember everything that I showed you, and that's okay. You'll have the video that's posted to Blackboard, so you can review this recording later if you need to, but please reach out to us. Each and every one of the librarians want CCRI students to be successful, but it does take you coming and asking us those questions. We're not psychic. We can't, just reach out into the ether and be like, oh, you have a question about this. Here you go. You do have to take that step and contact us. I am happy to help any of you. I know it can be a lot easier to contact someone if you at least recognize their name or their face, but it doesn't have to be me. Any of the librarians are perfectly capable and knowledgeable to help you with this research project. Please reach out to us. That is the biggest takeaway is to use us when you have questions.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
It's funny. I've never met a librarian that wasn't kind and helpful. I've never, that's just part of the certain professions have certain personality makeups, and being kind and helpful is it for in the librarian field. There isn't a mean librarian out there, I don't think. So,
Absolutely. And it's funny because a lot of times the stereotypical librarian is someone who's very severe with the bun and shushes everybody. And that's just not the case. We
right.
are all happy to help. And, you just got to come in and ask us.
Well, I thank you so much. Is there any parting messages for you?
um, just good luck on your assignment. I
Yeah.
mean, research is really difficult, especially for first time researchers. And I will say this, like when you contact us and ask for help, we're not going to tell you, okay, you specifically need to use these 5 articles. We'll give you some links to a list of results, but it will be up to you to look through them and decide for yourself which ones best meet the research need that you have. We're not the ones doing the project. You are. You know what's expected of you. You know what you're looking for. So we can guide you there, but it's up to you to make that ultimate decision about which sources you want to use. Another thing is we don't know exactly what your professor is looking for. Even if you bring us the assignment, there still might be some gaps in the knowledge of like, okay, well, I'm not the one grading this. So depending on your question, you might need to ask your professor instead of the librarian. But we would tell you if that's something that is outside of our purview or that you would want to contact your professor directly about. But again, if it's anything research related, using the library, or just CCRI related, we can help you find the answers to those questions.
Perfect. Thank you guys. I will post this in Blackboard in the next hour. Probably it'll be in the group project tab in Blackboard. So Katie, thank you so much for your time. I definitely learned a lot. I hope they did too. And we'll be reaching out anytime we're stuck.
Excellent. Thank you so much. Y'all have a great day.
Thank you. You too.
Bye.
See you later, everybody else. Reach out to me if you have any problems. Okay.